Beautiful.
To a lot of people, it's just a lens flare.
That's what I
Because,
would say.
But
I
we,
used to
right?
say that.
yeah, but we
You
know
changed
that
my mind.
maybe there's another thing.
It's
I
a
love that.
miracle.
I got one of those lens flares. I happened to be in the room where Last Supper was done and take a picture in the main chair that was overlooking everything. This is in Bethlehem.
Whoa.
There was this big
Whoa.
human-sized white flash, and it wasn't just a little white. It was like it blinded out the picture in that
Was it
area.
was it film or like
Wow.
when was this?
It was digital.
Wow.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the hairs went up on my spine on that one.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And the funny thing about Celia's picture is that the dog is staring at it, right? Or no?
Well, it looks like it. What I would tend to say is more that the living light put itself in its way,
Mm,
because
that
my
makes
dog
sense.
could not have seen it.
I'm in headphones. Sorry.
In
Sorry, go.
hindsight? No, no, go ahead, please.
No, my son was asking me a question. I didn't realize when the mic was open. Sorry.
I think I muted the music, I guess. I muted some of the lists that we have in Clubhouse. Sorry.
It's okay.
You're
Thank
so
you.
cute. I just want to say I'm so grateful you guys are here. I was like, every time before I go into a day like this, I get kind of like my brain starts going fast. And I just know that for the next hour, I'll be in this space with you guys. And it makes me really happy. So I just wanted to say that.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I feel that way too. Are you gonna have a really, really busy Sunday? I guess it's Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, there's a lot of events going on today.
A lot of events. Yes, yes. It's Fashion Week, isn't it? Fashion Week's always busy in New York City. All right, I got your back. Workbook lesson 44. God is the light in which I see. God is the light in which I see. Today, we're continuing the idea for yesterday, which was that God is my source, and I cannot see apart from God, adding another dimension to it. You cannot see in darkness, and you cannot make light. You can make darkness and then think you see darkness, but light reflects life and is therefore an aspect of creation. Creation and darkness cannot coexist, but light and life must go together, being but different aspects of creation. In order to see with true vision, you must recognize that light is within, not without. You do not see with true vision outside yourself, nor is the equipment for seeing with true vision outside of you. An essential part of this equipment is the light that makes seeing with true vision possible. This light is with you always, making vision possible in every circumstance. Today, we're going to attempt to reach that light. For this purpose, we will use a form of exercise which has been suggested before, in which we will ultimately utilize increasingly. It is a particularly difficult form for the undisciplined mind and represents a major goal of mind training. This form of exercise requires precisely what the untrained mind lacks: Yet this training must be accomplished if you are to see with true vision. Have at least 3 practice periods today, each lasting 3 to 5 minutes. A longer time is highly recommended, but only if you find the time slipping by with little or no sense of strain. The form of practice we will use today is the most natural and easy one in the world for the trained mind. Just as this form of practice seems to be the most unnatural and difficult for the untrained mind. Your mind is no longer wholly untrained. You're on the path. You're quite ready to learn the form of exercise we will use today, but you may find that you will encounter strong resistance. The reason for strong resistance is very simple. While in this way, you leave behind everything that you now believe and all the thoughts that you have made up. Properly speaking, this is the release from hell. Yet perceived through the ego's eyes, this is leaving behind everything that you now believe is a loss of identity and a descent into hell. If you can stand aside from the ego, ever so little, hang on 1 second.
You're saying H-A-L-L?
I am. I'm using the word hell because it's a place. And in the book, when I'm reading, I know it's a bad word sometimes. It's a bad word if you use it in an exclamation. If you're saying like, you're going to go to hell, then it's a bad word. But in this case, I'm actually describing the way that we have to live with stuff sometimes, Deanie. Okay. Dean wanted to make sure I wasn't cursing over here. So the sentence is, he's going to call 911 on me. He says if I was cursing over here. Yet perceived through the ego's eyes, this leaving behind everything you now believe is a loss of identity and a descent into hell. If you can stand aside from the ego by ever so little, you'll have no difficulty in recognizing that the ego's opposition to the ego's fears are meaningless. You might find it helpful to remind yourself from time to time that to reach light is to escape from darkness, whatever you may believe to the contrary. You are attempting to reach God. Excuse me. God is the light in which you see. You are attempting to reach God. I'm going to work my way back through this paragraph, sentence by sentence. You might find it helpful to remind yourself from time to time that to reach light is to escape from darkness, whatever you may believe to the contrary. God is the light in which you see. You're attempting to reach God. Begin the practice period by repeating today's idea that God is the light in which I see, with your eyes open, and close them slowly, repeating the idea that God is the light in which I see several times more. Then try to sink into your mind, letting go every kind of interference and intrusion by quietly sinking past any interference and intrusion. Your mind cannot be stopped in this unless you choose to stop your mind. It's merely taking its natural course, reaching for the light. Try to observe your passing thoughts without involvement and slip quietly by those passing thoughts. While no particular approach is advocated for this form of exercise, what is needed, or what is needful, is a sense of the importance of what you are doing. This exercises inestimable value to you. Whoops. I was glancing to receive my dad got here. I'm so glad to see you here, Papa. I'm sorry I messed up the reading. While no particular approach is advocated for this form of exercise, what is needful is a sense of importance of what you are doing. This exercises inestimable value to you and an awareness that you are attempting something very holy. Salvation is your happiest accomplishment. Salvation is also the only one that has any meaning, because salvation is the only one that has any real use to you at all. Salvation is your happiest accomplishment. If resistance rises in any form, pause long enough to repeat today's idea. God is the light in which I see. Keeping your eyes closed, unless you're aware of fear. In that case, you'll probably find it more reassuring to open your eyes briefly. Try, however, to return to the exercises with eyes closed as soon as possible. That's an important piece. Hold on to that. Okay, we've got our resistance problems. That's a problem. Let's be aware of that. If you're doing the exercises correctly, you should experience some sense of relaxation and even a feeling that you are approaching, if not entering into, light. Try to think of light, formless and without limit, as you pass by the thoughts of this world. And do not forget that the thoughts of this world cannot hold you to the world unless you give the thoughts of this world the power to do so. Throughout the day, repeat the idea that God is the light in which I see often, with eyes open or closed as it seems better to you at the time. But do not forget the idea that God is the light in which I see. Above all, be determined not to forget today. That's the end of the lesson at this point. And I'm going to take us into a meditation, and then we're going to read some notes. So let's stay quiet for just a moment. You can think happy thoughts at all of your brothers and sisters with us. I'm certainly incredibly grateful that you're here with me. God is the light in which I see. Begin today's practice period by repeating, God is the light in which I see. I'm going to repeat it. Leave your eyes open. And then I want you to close your eyes, and you've got to try and repeat this to yourself. This is an internal monologue for your mantra as you meditate. God is the light in which I see can be your mantra for this meditation. Hold those thoughts. God is your light in which you see. Try to observe your passing thoughts without involvement and slip quietly by them. If resistance rises in any form, just take a pause and repeat today's idea. God is the light in which I see. Notice your feelings. Are you relaxed? Maybe you feel like light, warm, energetic. Try to think of light formless and without limit as you pass by your thoughts of this world. Your thoughts cannot hold you to the world unless you give them the power to do so. So say to yourself, God is the light in which I see. Take a deep breath to imprint this thought into your body for today. God is the light in which I see. Slowly open your eyes and say, God is the light in which I see. You can do this exercise with your eyes open or closed. Continue to repeat, God is the light in which I see. Salvation is your happiest accomplishment. Salvation is also the only thing that has meaning this moment. It's the only thing that has any real use to you at all. And it's going to pull you out of this egoic identity and help you see you are a part of God. You are a child of God, perfect, whole, and complete. Keeping your eyes closed if you can. Unless you're aware of fear, keep repeating, God is the light in which I see. Take a deep cleansing breath. Remember, God is the light in which I see. God is the light in which I see. Let's bring ourselves back to reality. And I'm going to read the notes from lesson 44, and you can stay in a quiet meditative state and let it soak into you. God is cause and creation is God's effect. Two aspects of creation are light and life. God is your source and is the light within you. That's a capital S and a capital L for light there. God is your source and is the light within you. You cannot see in darkness, and you cannot make light because you are light. The source of all light is God. Light reflects life and is an aspect of creation. That's the spark inside of you and me and everybody. Being light, you can only extend that light that is already within you. Creation is the extension of what you truly are. When God creates, God extends the totality of what God is. Nothing is held back. God, being light, can only extend what God is. Nothing is held back. God is not the start of the next sentence. Cause and effect are actually two sides of one whole. The whole is creation, which is all God created, as God created it. Life reflects the truth and should not be confused with what we perceive to be the physical life associated with the physical body. Life is truth, and death is the false, or an illusion. Just like the false cannot be real, its counterpart, which is death, cannot be real. Both the false and death appear to exist only within the sleeping minds of the split-minded, who perceive themselves to be separate and different from their true source. ACIM makes a distinction between creation and making. Both creating and making are empowered by mind. Only mind, not some outside force beyond our control, is the power source for both creating and making. Creation is the extension of the oneness of all that is. That phrase is in all caps. All that is. That's the oneness of God. Creation is the extension of the oneness of all that is. It's an explanation of the totality. When God creates,
Expansion.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's totally awesome and appreciated. It is an expansion of the totality. When God creates, he extends or gives all to all. There is no separation. Instead, there is merely an expansion of the one self. Creation is real. Making arises from the egoic belief in separation and therefore is based on lack and limitation. Since lack and limitation cannot exist within the mind of God, making is not real. Making is merely a delusional fantasy of the split mind. Within the egoic mind that believes in limitation, lack, and separation, those beliefs are empowered by your mind to make up the false world of individuated, private perception. That misperception becomes the provisional reality of the split-minded. Change those beliefs, and what you perceive as your provisional reality must also change accordingly. Just as both the true and false cannot coexist, light and darkness cannot coexist. Yet because of the creative power of mind, your egoic beliefs can imagine darkness and then pretend that you can see in that darkness. Such images are your mind's imagination. They're not your true reality. These images that you see with the egoic eyes are not real. You're just a little boy pretending to be a dog. You're not really a dog. Hi, Tricia. Because beliefs are empowered by the holder's mind to make images that appear as the holder's provisional reality, the split-minded mistake these non-real images to be their personal reality. The split-minded mistake these non-real images to be their personal reality. The split-minded identify themselves with their ego's beliefs in limitation, lack, and separation. Because of this erroneous identification, you perceive that any abandonment of those erroneous beliefs would result in the loss of your own identity. In actuality, abandoning those erroneous or mistaken beliefs is the reclaiming of your divine birthright. For instance, if I think that everything I say is offensive, once I abandon that belief, I'm free to speak. Ooh, it's snowing outside too. All right. Oh, a little bit more to go. To the ego that perceives itself to be a limited body that's not whole, perfect, and complete, the loss of this false identity is equivalent to the death of the ego. Oh boy, what a sludgy mess this is when we get into it. Or at least it was for me. But once I started to separate those and peeled them apart, it's like peeling a sticker off of its backing. So, to the ego that perceives itself to be a limited body that's not whole, perfect, and complete, the loss of your false identity is equivalent to the death of the ego. The ego perceives
Can you
any...
repeat that a little bit slower?
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you, dear. Absolutely. All right. To the ego that perceives itself to be a limited body, an ego body, that is not perfect, whole, and complete, the loss of the false identity is equivalent to the death of the ego. It's referring back to the last paragraph of those erroneous beliefs about your identity. The ego perceives any challenge to its belief in separation to be an assault on its very existence, and therefore argues for the rightness of its erroneous beliefs. To the split-minded, your decision to accept the truth that you're perfect, whole, and complete means the death of the ego. Therefore, your ego argues for its rightness at the cost of your happiness, but it's fighting for its life. Remember that the thoughts of this world of time and space cannot bind you to this world of time and space unless you give those thoughts the power to do so. Thoughts have no power to change reality. Thoughts have no power to change reality. Only your beliefs become your make-believe world of provisional reality. To have true vision, you must recognize that the light is within and not outside of you. Since light comes from your source, which is within you, this makes vision possible, regardless of the circumstances that your egoic mind has imagined. Vision is the release from your spirit, split-minded identification with limitation, lack, and separation. Vision is the release from your split-minded identification with limitation, lack, and separation. It is your release from your private hell and the reawakening of the Son of God. You remain as God created you, perfect, whole, and complete. You are part of the indivisible oneness of all that is. Question for you. The ego argues for the rightness of its belief in lack, limitation, and separation. This false belief in egoic autonomy costs you your happiness and brings conflict, struggle, and suffering. You, as the commander of your own mind, must decide what's more important to you. Would you rather be miserable or happy? Good morning, everybody. Please come forward, take a minute to say hi. I'm really grateful you're all here. We're 44 days into our year, and we're really getting into the meat of this lesson. This is where transformations in your day start to happen. And I'm really excited to hear what's going on in each of your lives. Tell me what's going on.
Well, I want to share something, but but I don't want to jump in first. So, well, I do want to jump in, but I don't want to just like go up first if anybody has anything to share right now. So I'm gonna give a moment because I'm laughing at myself because it seems really like I do have experiences the day before these lessons that always serves well to the today's lessons. So I want to share something that happened yesterday, but I don't want to.
This is how you know you're becoming a teacher. You get lots and lots of chances to be a great teacher. So go ahead and share with it. As long, honestly, as it's not my voice, I'll be happy to hear it.
Well, it is your voice because it has to do with you. Well, no, what happened yesterday was funny because, well, yesterday I had like this huge realization that whenever I'm tired because I don't know, I did so many things during the day or I didn't sleep well. Whenever my body's tired, it really gives my ego like the open door to complain, feel sad, being miserable. So the first big or huge like realization was, when I'm tired, I'm really like taking everything like in a victim mode. So the first one was like that, and I was saying, oh my God, I need to take care of my sleeping patterns and just slow down a little bit if I'm feeling tired, because now I know, because I'm seeing myself more clearly, that when I'm tired, everything gets darker in my mind. Even the beautiful parts that I'm experiencing right now, I found my ego finds the way to just take it and saying like, this is so hard, and start to complain, right? So that was the first one. But as I want to be happy and I'm now a student of A Course in Miracles, then I always like try to bring those with me in form of a lesson. So I was at morning after the session and doing things around my house and things like that. I was having this constant thought like, oh my God, this is so hard. I'm missing Lee so much. And well, I was thinking like, well, it's so funny being at home, at this place, at this house, doing things like if it was my home, but I know this is not my home anymore. Because I was tired, well, whatever. And I was having this kind of thoughts, and then I for some reason, I went to Facebook and I found an image that said clearly, somebody posted this in Facebook, but it appeared in my screen. You will get there. Until then, be here. This moment matters. And I was, oh my God, that's my answer. So I got a little bit of peace of mind with that kind of clue. And I kept going my day. And I went to a doctor's appointment, and I went to have lunch with my mother-in-law that I love so much. And the entire day was like really busy day, but I was still feeling like tired. So even though I had that happiness help in my mind with that image, I still feel like this is not my home. Like I know that I'm okay and nothing is happening in my present, in my now, but I was constantly feeling this is not my home. And I was getting these other thoughts around it, like, well, but how am I going to make this happen for Vera, for my daughter? Because I don't want to I don't want to be the object of her tiny little ego to feel apart from Source, because I know that changes are coming and she will have to deal with that as well. So how am I going to do with Vera to make her feel comfortable with all these changes, because this will be probably another experience for her another new experience for her to experience. I'm sorry that I'm repeating that word, it's just that I don't have better words to say it. She will begin to experience more separation processes. So how can I help her to navigate those without feeling really separated, because nothing is happening. The only thing that's happening here is expansion of love. So if I have to go, whatever. I was having like this huge cloud of thoughts around the idea, I'm not at home, I'm not at home. And then at the end of the night, this is so funny because I'm
This is the cherry on the top.
I was I came back home earlier than my daughter and my ex-husband. They stayed at my mother-in-law's house, and I came early because I was doing some things around the house that needed to be finished. So I came here earlier, and I was just resting and, well, doing things, but I was beginning to feel like, okay, I'm going to rest now. And with Lee, we were just like chatting through WhatsApp. We haven't spoke like in a call or something. And then my daughter came in with my ex-husband, and my daughter was happy. She didn't have any she didn't have any dinner at her grandma's, so I had to fix her dinner here. And she was taking her bath with her dad in other room, like far from the kitchen. So in that moment, Lee called me, and I was having this call with Lee during. Meanwhile, I was doing the dinner for my daughter, and I was just having this conversation with him in video, and with my headset on. Then, then my ex-husband appeared in the kitchen, and he, out of the nowhere, he started to say to me, "You need to take those calls outside. You need to hang up that call. I don't want to hear that in my house. And this is not your house." And out of nowhere, and I was, oh my God, I mean, I know this is not my house anymore. I do know, but you need to go to a lawyer and get all the divorce done. And because the power is in your hands. I have already done that. I mean, it was like this huge like moment that I was, oh my God, what am I having this man saying this? If I had already explained to him that I'm having this relationship in the most loving and peaceful way, so he knows what I'm doing. So why does he bother if this is something that he already knows? And I was just saying to myself, well, he probably felt uncomfortable, so I'm going to give him credit on that. But he doesn't get to speak to me like that. I mean, he really was like mad and saying awful things. So I have to just leave the call for a moment and take care of my daughter and whatever. But I stick with the annoyance in my mind. I wasn't feeling hurt, but I was annoyed by the situation. And then I connected with Lee again, and he was smiling and full of like joy and being okay with it. And I was just like wrapping my mind over the situation with my ex-husband, because I was saying it's just that he doesn't understand that he has all the power right now to do the change that needs to be done in order for us just to split up. Because I know that this is not my house. I know that I don't have anything in my name, so he can just go with a lawyer and do the exercise of saying what is his proposal in order for us to move forward with the divorce. And I know we were talking about all those things with Lee, and I was like having this like feeling of I'm annoyed. And he just said, well, you should be telling these things to him as well. And I was saying, yeah, I have already said this to him. And it's just that it's annoying. And then he just smiled at me and say, I love you, whatever. And I mean, he was just expressing his joy and he was there for me. He was just listening, but he was tired. So I saw his face and I said, well, you need to sleep now because we have to wake up tomorrow. And we hung up and I went to bed. He went to bed. Well, while I was at bed, I was thinking, and then I realized what just had happened. I totally could understood that the entire situation was created by all the heaviness of my thoughts during the day. The entire day I was thinking in my mind, this is not my home. And not because I don't feel at home like at the level of the mind or the spirit or whatever. It's just that in this duality, this is actually not my house. And I'm just waiting that he wraps his mind around the concept of being divorced for the second time so he can move forward with his life and let me move forward with mine. So I was saying to myself, this is all my creation. he has not done anything wrong. He just expressed all the content of my mind in one like moment. And and then I realized that Lee really showed me the face of God, because even though I was like having this uh, this annoyance in my head and in my heart, like, oh my God, I'm feeling stuck. Lee was saying always like, well, this will be figured out and whatever. He was just showing joy, calm, and smiling face. And then I thanked him, because I was thinking, oh my God, yeah, this is truly something that I need to. And it has been like the second time that Lee helped me in that way, because nobody can save you from yourself, but anybody can give you the face of God whenever you're feeling that kind of situation. It only takes for you to see it. This is the second time that I have strong conflicts. I mean, strong conflicts, not that I'm in danger or anything, but strong conflicts in my emotions. And Lee just saying like, I love you, and showing his smile, I feel at peace. So I really, I really want to share this, because really God is the light in which I see. Um, and there's another part of the story, but I want to just leave it like that in order for everybody to share all their experiences. And I want to say thank to Lee, because really it helped me to sleep well last night. I mean, the whole idea of he questioning me like, do you feel hurt? I said, no, I'm not feeling hurt. I feel like annoyed. And then went to bed, because he was, of course, tired, and he couldn't have a long conversation on it, thank God, because that will be a disaster, I guess, for the way that I was
Yeah, we don't
in
want to
that
dwell
moment.
there.
Yeah,
We want to get out of there.
exactly. I went to bed and I had time to, oh my God, yeah, this is exactly what the book says. It's my projection. His entire tantrum, I mean, meaning my ex-husband, was all the content in my mind of the day. So I wanted to share that, because if God is the light in which I see, and therefore mine can create or make, I was making my hell by dismissing my reality. That it's that everything is my home. It's just, how do you see your home? It's are you able to feel at home in any place, with any people that you have in front of you? Are you able really to see that everything is your home? I was thinking this morning about Andy's. Andy's hasn't arrived yet today, but yesterday Andy was saying like, it's just that I feel at home, and I was saying, well, that's nice to know. But yeah, it's true. We should be like making progress towards that idea, that even though the parts that are not so in agreement with what you really want, that's all you're doing. That's all you. That's your home as well. So I just wanted to share that part. And then we'll see if we can share the other part, because really it's amazing. It's amazing. I hope it helps to understand this lesson.
I have something, Adriana. um, I feel that in the midst of attack, it's like an exercise for us, an opportunity to shine that light within us. And even though you said you felt okay, and I know Lee was there as the face of God and reminding you, that there's that light, um, that that within yourself, and it's actually a beautiful opportunity. I was attacked the other day when I wasn't expecting it, and yes, like you, it was something that I had been fearing and anticipating. So I did create it. I realized it in that moment, and I was so happy that I was pretty much calm um, while in the midst of it. And and I know you felt proud of yourself that you weren't allowed to be taken outside of yourself and into anger. I think it's so great when we now at this point I thought, oh, I checked myself, kind of like you did. I said, oh, I feel okay. I don't feel upset. I kind of was able to observe the situation and respond appropriately, and I think that's the power these lessons and the
That's
knowing.
wonderful. Yeah.
So I think I can resonate with your experience very well.
Sure, Janine, thank you. Sean, do you want to share something as well?
This may sound on topic, but off topic. Um, so I was sitting here since 6:30, in just this amazing blissful state and crying, because you started talking about the light of God, and I kept on imagining that light I saw in the room with Last Supper, and any time that I started to feel my ego pulling away from it, I started saying to myself this mantra of the last step is taken by God. And I kept feeling myself being pulled back into this light. And I literally just had one of the longest, deep spiritual, um, I don't want to say awakening, but touches. It's like being touched by God. And I felt this one other time when I was in Germany and, listening to a spiritual teacher, and it was like just everything made sense, and then Adrian, as you were talking about, you know, where you're at is not your home. I don't believe that. Where you're at is your home. Every place you're at is your home, and especially with your daughter. And it's a beautiful place to be. And all I can say is that when you see the light like this, don't resist it. Don't put your ego into it. Just see it for what it is the amazing light of God. And I hope you all are able to experience this at one point in time in your life because it is exquisite joy like I've never felt before. That's what I wanted to share. Thanks.
Yeah, that's true, Sean. That's exactly what I realized at night when I went to bed, that if I had this kind of conflict in my matrix, it was all my doing, because I was tired at the beginning of my day, and I was really having this clouded mind, and really it helped me to instantly see the concept of projection, the concept of the ego-minded uh, um, content in my entire day. And really, I went to bed like with no sense of feeling hurt by my ex-husband, but in fact being taught that I was not doing my righteous mind during the day. I mean, I wasn't being able, because I was tired, because I was whatever, not doing that part. And then when I woke up in the morning, no, I'm gonna just. It's just that I found this morning something beautiful. That it's from the book as well. I followed only two groups in Facebook. One of them is about Ken Wapnick's books and teachings, because I love Ken Wapnick's perspective on A Course in Miracles. And there's somebody posted something about lesson 15 or something, and in that part of the post were like joys. It was said that this is part of the book. Joy calls forth an integrated willingness to share it and promotes the mind natural impulse to respond as one. Those who attempt to heal without being wholly joyous themselves call for different kind of responses at the same time, and thus deprive others of the joy of responding wholeheartedly. I'm sorry if I didn't read that right. But it was really what was happening to me yesterday. I was really not in my righteous mind, and therefore my reality was showing me the conflict of it. And then when I went to bed, I really chose this, forgive it, because I said, now I get it. This is all my doing. This is not Kurt's doing. Kurt was showing me all the content of my mind, and I stopped like feeling annoyed or whatever, I felt happy because the last thought in my mind was this beautiful smile of this guy in my screen saying I love you. And I said, yeah, that's all I needed. Nobody can take us out of hell but we. And as we are learning how to understand and practice that God is the light in which I see, we will be faster as the speed of light. We will be faster on catching ourselves when we have these experiences as the one that Janil was saying, because we are truly committed to break down the barriers. And
Beautiful put.
therefore I didn't went to bed like feeling in conflict, but just with gratitude, because I did understood that no, Ariana, you need to correct your mind, because home is wherever you're at. Home is not a place. Home is not like some separate part of you. You are home. As I'm been saying all over the lessons, like it's like when you see in your mirror, you say, "I'm gonna love myself." You cannot love yourself. You have to be the love. So I did say to myself, you have to be the home. Which kind of home do you want to be? Do you want to be a home full of conflict, or do you want to be a home full of light? And I said to myself, well, that's why I'm having this experience now with Lee, because we really are attuning to that direction. We are getting to that direction. So it is true. Everything that the book states, it's undeniable. And there's a other part that happened, but I don't know if anybody wants to share anything else, because I don't want to take over all the conversation.
Well, I wanted to say I love how you traced back to your tiredness. Like you really are good at, going to the root of what was going on inside of you and what led to that conflict, in your mind. In my example, it was my mother. So, and I know like your ex, these are really big relationships in our lives, people who, they have strong ties to. And I'm going to sit down and really write that out and think about. I've done a little bit of work on it, and we did come together next day, of course, in love. And but to think about what was going on in my mind, I know that I wasn't home, or quote home. I was away from here, where we lived together, and that upset her a great deal at the time. And but I'm going to do like you did. I'm going to really go back in my mind and start really paying attention to, the beginning of the day and watching my thoughts unfold. And, as things happen, I think that's so important to do as we observe ourselves, and to end the day like that. I think that was so beautiful. Thank you so much, Adriana. That was really beautiful.
Well, I'm gonna continue with the with the second part of the story. If anybody else wants to share something, or Tom, do you have any comments?
Yay, we like your stories.
Okay, give me a moment because I have to connect my laptop to the power source.
In the meantime, I can maybe share something if you don't mind.
Go, Lisa.
Okay. Well, first of all, I've been back channeling Adriana because I am in a Colombian shop. So I live in Brussels, and having a Colombian shop is like, yeah, it's a very nice thing to have Colombian food. So I just
You
back
know
channel
that's a
Adriana.
very egoic thing to do, okay? That's a very
So
egoic thing to do,
I just
bragging
sent you in
about your
WhatsApp.
Colombian shop.
Yeah, it's not bragging, but I just sent you a picture and I said home is where the Colombian shop is. But just of course
I
a
didn't saw
joke.
that. That is so amazing.
But what I wanted to share is that I just love what Sean said, that home is wherever you are, as long as you are in the light of God, which is today's topic. Is like I was, when I came to live here in Belgium, I was not happy and I was always wanting to leave, to go back to Colombia. Then I went back to Colombia and I was not happy in Colombia, so I wanted to come back to Belgium. And the point is, I was not happy with myself. I was not in the light of God. And then when my partner died, when my son's father died, I always thought, the first thought, my thought and everybody's thought was, okay, now she's going back because her partner died, so she's going back to Colombia. And then is when I realized that I didn't have to go back to Colombia to feel at home. When he died, I felt peace being here finally, and I really, it was the place where my son was born and when he was going to school and when he had made his friends. And I didn't stay because of him, but I felt at home. And when Sean said you are at home and even more with your where your daughter is, I also felt that he was happy here. This is his country, and yeah, I was at home and I am at home. And I'm looking forward to maybe live at some place next around the sea. So it's not going to be Belgium, but wherever I go, I know I will be at home because I will be in the light of God. Thank you. I'm done speaking.
Great, great, Luisa. I guess that we as expats, we can have more of those kind of experiences of feeling not at home in different places. But now we are learning and making progress on how to be at home in every single part of our process. Well,
Mm-hmm.
so I can share the other part?
Sure.
Okay, well, so I went to bed feeling at peace, and I thank him, I thank Lee, because I really felt like he has done it again. I mean, the other day that I was having this huge like conflict with my ex-husband as well. It only took like him saying I love you for me to saying yeah, that's totally true. He doesn't have to do anything, because he said in that first time that he did that, he said, I wish I could be there or help you or something, he said. And then he said, but I can only say I love you. And then I feel, yeah, it's only love what it takes. It's only love. And then I start to feel better, because I understood that everything was just a projection of my mind. And this is the second time that I experienced that. And I was so grateful, because I said, yeah, this is what a holy relationship is. And I'm feeling at home, even though I'm not there. I'm feeling at home. I mean, I'm feeling really peaceful right now. And I went to bed, and everything just went into my dreams or whatever. And then I woke up. This is so funny. I woke up and I found this message from Lee saying like he was sorry for being impatient, because he wished like that I felt that he was listening to me. Because when I get back to our call, I was like trying to explain like my thought process and whatever, but he was just really like saying, well, that's okay. And he was tired as well, and he just smiled and just say I love you, and we hung up. So he took it like in the other perspective of he feeling like I should have listened to her more. And I really don't see it like that. So he said like, I really want to do better and appreciate, and as I appreciate you so much, I will be better at listening to you. And I was, what is this? This is interesting, because I have no clue that he felt that way. And I started to say, well, if you didn't mention that, I wouldn't have even noticed that you weren't listening. So what do you feel impatient when somebody's telling you a sorrow? And this is something truly amazing to me, because it will help me to understand you instead of it will help me to understand you. So instead of you saying that you're bad at listening, help me understand, because there's probably a gift hidden in this kind of interaction, and just let me know the answer of this question. Why do you feel impatient when somebody's telling you Asura? And he said like, no, that's not what I was impatient about. He was impatient about like me. I mean, he wanted to just realize that I was being heard by him, and that was his impatience. And I was, well, you did well. And that's funny because because in the morning, well, I mean, with all the things that happen in the morning, and he's taking this, I was saying, yeah, that's really like our egos working here in the other way that it's not helpful. I mean, it's just that I'm seeing my screen right now, my phone screen, because last night he taught me again the power of love and one. And I did say that I was thankful for it, but for some reason he just needed to feel that I was really being heard by him, being heard, truly heard. And then in my morning when I woke up and I was doing this, and then I went to my Facebook for some reason, and I found these words about Lessons 15 in Ken Wapnick's, and it was powerful because, yeah, those who attempt to heal without being wholly joyous themselves call forth different kind of responses at the same time, and thus deprive others of the joy of responding wholeheartedly. So I was telling him, you are truly my Christ mind, and there's nothing you can say to make that not real, because that's the reality. You're perfect. You gave me joy last night, and that's all I needed. And that was another like huge realization between us, that we are really mirroring each other, our love for God. In fact, it's not like we are in this kind of relationship where we are hooked to each other, like in this egoic mind. No, it's just that we are really like showing the light of God to ourselves. And it is a wonderful, a peaceful way of living. So whenever you have somebody having a sorrow in front of you, you just need to be kind and show your rested face and say, I'm here, I'm listening, I love you, and everything, it's okay. I guess as the image that I found yesterday says, you will get there. Until then, be here, because this moment matters. And the people in front of you can be the light of your heart if you let them. And you can feel comfortable being the light of somebody else if you let yourself understand deeply that you are the son of God, that you are the child of God, and that you can heal people by only saying, I love you. Okay? That's something that really amazed me, because this is the second time that I experienced this with Lee, and it's really a healing process, a forgiveness process, and it doesn't require for him to do anything else. I don't have to do anything else but just see the light that is in front of me. And that was the lesson that I had from yesterday, that it really fits to today's lesson. Because God is the light in which I see.
Thank God it's in the eye of the beholder. And it's wonderful on both sides. Certainly lots for me to learn and grow with and get better and better. So I got new opportunities too. Anybody else like to say anything?
Good morning.
Hi, Trish.
Hi. I'm not always able to jump in because oftentimes in the mornings I'm getting ready for work, and I have you guys on in the background, and I'm usually listening as I'm making breakfast or doing what I need to do to get my day going. But today's a Sunday, so I don't work today. I really love this one a lot. God is the light in which I see. But just reading through it again, I'm struck by, well, what they've been saying in the last couple lessons really is that we're really trying to train our minds. And when I think about that, it's kind of interesting. On one hand, what we're attempting to do is very natural because we're tuning into our natural selves, our higher selves. But then on the other hand, it takes training. We don't actually get there quickly, easily, because our minds are not focused. And it kind of made me think of, I am a middle school teacher, right? And I've got rowdy kids I'm dealing with every day. And one of the things I find myself saying most often is, we need to focus. And you can't listen if you're talking, because the kids love to talk. And so I'm thinking about this training of the mind and the need for quiet to receive guidance from God. And that's another reason why I think right now I'm not wanting to talk as much as listen, because I feel my ego's always going to talk first. So I want to just shut up and let something deeper come through. But what does it say here? The trained mind must be accomplished if you are to see. And it is particularly difficult form for the undisciplined mind because it represents a major goal of mind training. And I remember when I first started meditating, I couldn't, I was very, very frustrated. Like, it really was making me angry more than anything else. And now I'm able to meditate. So there really is like a whole process that our brains, I think, kind of have to go through in quieting this egoic noise. But that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thanks, Tricia. Adriana mentioned being tired, and one of the things that brought up in the 12 steps I was taught was HALT as an acronym: hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Those all produce higher emotional responses when I'm in those states than otherwise, and trying to alleviate one of those three things, being hungry or angry or lonely or tired, seems to really help our abilities to let our egos reel in those emotions a little bit and guide them. And that's it.
I know whenever I was younger, through about 25 until I was about 25, I had a constant conversation with myself. I was constantly self-monitoring, talking, and that was me and the ego, listening, and, the ego telling me one thing and not really being present in the moment. And, I don't know, 30, 40 years ago, that conversation stopped, and you could be in the present. Before that, I was always talking, to myself, and everything was a running commentary, and you weren't there in the moment. So it's interesting when all of a sudden that internal chatter stops and you can be and just be in, I'll say, the now. So it's a interesting experience. I don't know if everybody has this internal chatter going, but that was something that was just so prevalent to me constantly. Uh, and it's nice to have that stop. And like Trish was saying, to be able to listen, you have to stop that egoic mind chatter to hear the voice for truth within. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. I've been trying to see the light in my little laptop computer, and it's just not working. Lee asked me to get on Zoom with him, and for some reason, and I'm hoping Lee knows the answer to this, I cannot connect. And I've checked my Wi-Fi and all kinds of things. There's something wrong, and here it is. An unknown error occurred. When I'm tired, as you pointed out, Lee, it happens too. And as most of you know, because you heard it when I was on the highway 2 days ago, um, I had a flat, and I got it all fixed. Everything was fine, but it had a spare tire on it. And then I stayed at a motel there. And in both cases, well, in that case, I just didn't sleep very well at all. And I continued the drive home yesterday. Um, and I'm still tired. um, in fact, I think I just missed a day just now, even in describing it. And there's probably something here that it says that unknown error occurred. I hate when things like that say, but they do give you an error code. And even if I went to it, I probably wouldn't understand it. And I'd have to call up Lee or Sean and say, what does this mean? My whole point here is when I'm tired, my eyes are closing, so to speak, and I'm not seeing the light. And I'm not seeing the light that I need to extricate myself from just for the last almost an hour, just continuing to retry, turn the laptop off, boot up, unboot, bootstrap, whatever. Nothing is working there. So I just need to get some rest sometimes. And then a lot of the confusion of what's really going on gets clear. And that is the one thing I know for sure, because it has happened that way throughout my life. It's when I'm tired, it's hard to see what the answer that I need is, even though it may be staring at me. So I understand that can happen. I think that proves the particular lesson for today. And I have listened on my phone. Fortunately, that's still working. Just my laptop isn't. It's okay. 1 out of 2 is good enough right now. So thanks.
That is beautiful, Bob. Thank you. I was about to ask Tom, in fact, when he jumped with his intervention, I was about to ask Tom about how contradictory it can be for us to understand. I mean, it is contradictory because it's probably seen through the eyes of the ego. The thing that you need to take care of your body, but you have been told that all the all the level of the form is an illusion. But you need to take care of your body, because if your body is tired, then you will not have your experience of the kingdom of heaven. So if you as well as me winds around this kind of concept, please remember that even though it is an illusion and it is a mind making from a split content, from a split idea or from idea of separation, it is still from the light of God. I mean, everything that we see at the level of the form, it comes from God as well in some form. It's just that it is a perception of a separation that that's never the truth. So the body or the things that you have in your level of the form needs to be addressed in a loving way as well, in order for you to experience that God is the light of everything. So if you don't take your body into that kind of loving way, of course you will not have an experience of joy, because you will be adding like this kind of conflict to your pseudo reality, and therefore you will be experiencing your ego instead the light of God. So what are your thoughts about that part of the of taking care of the body, Tom, I just wanted to address the question to you because you have more experience doing this
Yeah.
with Course in
Well,
Miracles.
yeah. To me, I look at the body as your game token that holds the space on the game board that we're here to experience. And so the body is like your vehicle, and you need the vehicle if you want to play on the game of time and space. And so uh, I look at it as a car. Uh, you need that car, and it's helpful to maintain the car properly. You change the oil, you make sure that the tires are good. You do those things. Why? Because without that, you will not be able to experience this world to its fullest. You need the body, and therefore you should maintain it so that it can service you. If I have a uh, body that is serviceable, that is in decent shape, I'll say that from the standpoint of physicality, but you know, it is that tool. So it gives me the ability to experience and a lot more options because I maintain the body. So you want to have a good relationship with the body and realize that you need it. Whatever body you've been given, I look at it as the perfect vehicle. You know, it's a placeholder. So whether or not we have a Ferrari running around on the game board or we have a clunker, as long as it can move and hold that space, you can get all the learning lessons that you want. So, I would say the body is not something that you need to uh, abuse. I know that in my earlier life that's something that I probably did more of, but that was in my case. Uh, I'm very into the idea that uh, that the body is follows the mind, and so mind over matter was something important. That it's my instrument. That it's not in charge of me. My mind is in charge of it. So, but it's something that I do maintain and try to you know keep. And I say that today is a good day to live. It's a good day to die. And that's because I realize that I'm not my body. And whenever I no longer have the energy expended for being in this time space continuum, isn't worth the effort for the learning lessons that I've learned what I have to, then we'll pull the silver cord and check out and go someplace else to grow and learn. So I have a good relationship with the body, but I realize that it's just my game token that I need. If I want those learning experiences, I need to maintain the body. So that's how I look at it. I don't know. Hopefully that
Thank you,
answers your
Tom.
question.
Yeah,
Thank you.
totally. Thank you very much. In fact, it triggered something that I have been telling my daughter because as she has this kind of attachment to her iPad, and I was at the beginning of my process, I wasn't so sure that that was a good idea or not, and I was feeling like anxious of what she saw in the iPad without me being like supervising her or whatever. I just, with the Course in Miracles concepts, I just understood that I didn't need it, her like this tool for the mind to decide what's best for her. So I start to say to her like, well, baby, it's just that your brain is like your stomach. If you eat a lot of junk food, yeah, of course, it will taste great and it will give you some kind of partial joy. But if you ate all day you ate all those foods, your stomach will not be able to process it well, and it will give you discomfort and pain, and you will not be strong enough to handle any disease or whatever. Your brain is like your stomach, only that the brain eats information and eats experiences. So whenever you need to use your iPad, you need just to be aware that whatever you see in videos, if they had, like, I don't know, violence on it, or things that are frightening, or things that are not like the love, that like coming from love or whatever, you need to decide if you want to eat that, because that of course will give you discomfort, pain, and will give you fear. So you decide what is that you want to feed your brain with. And as I was saying that to her, I realized that myself needed to be more aware of the content of things that I was watching back in that moment when I had to tell her that, because as well as she was taking this lesson, I was doing it to myself, and I started to realize, yeah, we had to be aware. For example, what do you follow in social media? This is something that I mentioned before, but I guess it is doable to mention it. I mean, it is good to mention this again. What is the content of your social media? Have you seen your feed? It's full of violence, politics, or separation ideas, or lacking ideas, or whatever. Because if your feed in the social media platforms shows you 80% of those kind of contents, is because you in some form are engaged with those kind of situations into your digital perception of it, and it is feeding your brain. So what is the food that you gave your brain in order for you to function every day? What are the pages you follow? What are the it's not about not being aware of news, but how much engagement do you have on negative contents in the mind? So how are we feeding our body with food, and how are we feeding our brain with content that help us to maintain focused on the righteous mind, and to help us to stay at ease and learn how to listen more instead of talking? Because in social media, you will always be triggered by the content that is more likable for the greater consciousness. For example, the logarithm that Facebook uses is not meant to drive content and stick it up in your stream of news feeds or whatever without your permission. The logarithm is built to show you content that is the most likable in terms of the entire web of consciousness of everybody that is already there. So if each one of us start to clean a little bit the connections that we have in social media with contents that are negative, that are like that triggering in terms of how do you say, controversy, you will be doing a greater good in terms of the higher consciousness, because then the logarithm in Facebook will see that we as community find ourselves more engaged with contents that are good, loving, and caring, instead of contents that are frightening, violent, or divisive, is the word. And it's something that we can always take action towards, because as the body gets tired, because you don't get your sleep pattern well, and you don't feed yourself well, the brain as well will give you discomfort in your experience if you feed your brain with all these kind of contents. So it's a beautiful thing that you said all those things down, because it triggered that part of my thought process as well.
Yeah, we need to be aware of the law of exposure. The law of exposure says that your attention will go to whatever you expose your mind to. And we have to be a good steward of what we expose our mind to and be aware that in this fear-based world, where they're pushing fear constantly and trying to divide and separate and try and encourage people to be in fear, that those things like social media, especially if it's or advertisements, they all have a particular agenda, a hidden agenda, which is to keep you in fear. And also, when they can keep you in fear, they want to slant how you think. So they're not really presenting the information, all the information. They're presenting it in a way that they know will get you to think like they want you to think. So we need to be aware that there's a lot of hidden agendas out there. They're basically fear-based. They're designed to control and manipulate people into supposedly using their free will to agree with what the agenda is. But if we were actually given options uh, and given all the information, we would probably see things differently. But what we have in this world is what we call bounded rationality. It's bounded by our cognitive uh, abilities, but basically it's bounded by the idea that we have uh, limited information, and uh, we need to be aware that in this high-tech society, that they are well aware of the psychological tests, studies that show how to manipulate people into getting people to agree with what they want. And they're constantly bombarding us with information. And we have to be good stewards to not expose ourselves to this. I could uh, tell just some psychological experiments, but I could go and bombard you with the idea that constantly replaying this one statement, that you're a jerk or that you're worthless, you're worthless, you're worthless. And if I do that often enough, the way our mind works, we'll pick up on that and we'll believe that. So we have to be aware that uh, this society is pushing fear, and that we have to be aware of their hidden agenda, that they want to keep us separate and apart, and they want to have us think that we need them to tell us what to do.
But you know what? I
And
have to jump in with what you're
yeah,
saying because it seems like a little bit of um, level of confusion because everything that happens out there is the content of it. It's just that part of the hidden agenda. It for me, I'm not sure if this is something true or not, but it's like really like not accepting that the hidden agenda is your agenda. So you don't need to mind about what is the hidden agenda of others, because what you are trying to make progress on is that if you're living in duality and you're having conflict in your life, it is your doing. It's not something that has been pushed. It's just like the Facebook algorithm. The Facebook algorithm is not made to make you being separate. It only follows what the greater like collective behavior is. So it fits you with contents that follow the behavior of everybody as a collective consciousness. It's not meant to be like. Of course, it can be twisted or whatever, but it's just that as long as we keep thinking that there is a hidden agenda that will drive us out of love and will give us like war or whatever, we are making it seems to me, I don't know if I'm right or not, and I don't mind if I'm wrong, but it's just if we continue to conceive the idea that there's hidden agendas, we are not taking responsibility from our part, that it's the only part on it. I mean,
Can I jump in, Adriana?
okay,
Yeah.
go.
I just
I
want to
just,
say
Tom,
there
I
is a
just
hidden
wanted to,
agenda,
yeah,
and
well,
it's
can I
the
jump in,
idea of
Tom?
not having control of your own identity.
Yeah, okay, exactly. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I'm
yeah.
sorry. I wanted to just say that. I'm sorry if I was wrong. I was trying to just gather my thoughts on it. Sorry.
Oh,
Thank you
it's
very
all
much.
good. It's all good. I love your both of your examples, and I just wanted to give a living example. When I was with my ex, one of our primary forms of like a date night or entertainment was to go to the movies. And and I thought back, years later on what we were watching. It was always this violence and action, and at the time it seemed like a great idea and a lot of fun. And in your example, I love your example. I'm going to borrow it, Adriana, for my son because he does the video games and he's 23 now. I mean, he doesn't do them like he did when he was a teenager, but it had always bothered me on some level. And I tried to explain to my ex why I thought it was a problem, and he thought I was being, oh, you're exaggerating. It's not like he's going to go out and kill anybody or do anything like that. And it just at a deep level, wasn't where I am now in terms of spiritual practice and study, but on a deep level, it just bothered me that he was looking at these images. I somehow knew it couldn't be good for his brain. And just like, the example of junk food, sure, you could take these things in, but after a while, you're not going to feel well. And I think we, as human beings, we just are not going to feel good at certain images. And but I myself am a very creative person. So, and we all are, we can create. And some of these things, I don't think there's an agenda, it's just an expression. So, for example, me as an artist, I can draw many different things. I can draw happy images, fighting images, violence, just because I can. I'm able to do it in a very realistic way. And then some people can put it into cartoon form or acting and visual things, which are exciting to see because, wow, we made this thing and now we can project it. We can put it on paper now, on video, digital images, and it just seems very exciting. And then when people realize, oh, I can actually make money from this, I can make a living, um, it gets bigger and bigger. And then they realize, oh, a lot of people like looking at what I produce. And it just goes from there. I don't know that it's always malicious. It just kind of, it's an unconscious, it becomes, I think, an unconscious practice. And I know for me and my ex, it was very unconscious. It felt like fun and entertainment, but I don't think it was good for a relationship. And just coming up to recently, I do enjoy Netflix. I like watching Netflix with my family. We'll watch specific programming, and I don't watch television that much anymore, and I'm proud of that. But I questioned myself because I was watching this program, and they did a great job acting, such a great job acting. It was actually about this woman who she ended up having to sacrifice her brother uh, for the mafia because he was just being really bad and destroying their operations, and she had to allow them to kill her brother. And this particular scene stuck with me. It just went into my body, and I think because I don't watch that much TV, I just watch Netflix programs. I was just turning it over in my mind and really thinking about it, to the point where I went to bed thinking about it. Like that's how much it affected me. And I think the next day, my daughter and I talked about it, and my son, and she talked about the idea of, oh my God, I could never kill my brother. And then we were discussing it, and I thought, why has this become like such a thing? This was acting. I had to remind myself, these are people playing on a screen. This is acting. You don't need to take this into your life and into your consciousness. And so imagine people seeing multiple images of violence every day or many times during the day or week. It's just so it's just, it spirals. It can spiral into actions. And I think some people might actually do things in their lives, or it makes them depressed or anxious or sad. And I see so clearly now how it happens now that my mind is at peace much of the time. Um, I just see it so clearly. So I'm going to use your example with my son, because he still plays these video games and I don't really like it.
Yeah, and
So
you need to understand that it doesn't matter that you don't like it because it is
it
his
doesn't.
choice. It is his
I
choice,
know.
and the only thing that we need to teach them is
I know.
you.
I
Yeah,
know. And I know
exactly.
he has to go through what he has to go through,
Exactly, and be
but
and
it's
trust because
hard.
yeah,
You
it's
know, it's
hard.
hard as a mother.
Yeah, totally. I'm saying this not because I disagree with your talking. It's just that it really helped me to be at ease with the idea that I can let her have her iPad with my supervision because I was really getting, oh my God, all these worry thoughts about her and about me being like out of date with so many platforms that are today. And I come from a digital world. I mean, I worked in that area for several years in my career, and now that I'm a mom, I'm no longer like updated in all those things. So I felt like really in fear, in completely fear about her having an iPad where she can watch videos in YouTube Kids and find
Right.
something that
Yeah.
I didn't agree on.
Yeah, we
And
don't
then
want to be in fear. I definitely
yeah,
don't want to be in fear, but I do
exactly.
want to present the idea that,
Yeah, exactly.
so he has the information and the
Yeah.
awareness. So
The
maybe
awareness that
he'll
what he's
begin to think
doing,
about
yeah,
it. Right.
exactly. The awareness that he is making a choice of conflict over peace or conflict. For example, for kids that are younger, that my daughter is like 6 year old, I don't I don't use the word love. I just use the word fun. For example, I always tell to her, okay, you're choosing conflict over fun. So what are you going to do? What is the best way to do this? What is other way to do this? I always let her, like, I open her mind with questioning in order for her to make room to choose again and choose differently and find other creative ways of address any situation that she may have in order for her to be her choice and not mine, because I totally can't force her to do things, but that will create fear between our relationship. And I don't want her to be afraid of me anymore because she had already found her way to let me know that when I am in this like angry mom mode, she can be fear. I was scared. Sorry, she can be scared of me. And when she let that like out of her mouth, I realized, oh my God, yeah, I'm being like this huge person yelling at her, and of course that can be scary. And she made me realize that I need to find a better way to teach her what worried me and let her have her decision, because it is her process in the level of the form. I'm only here to be her mom, to teach her that she came from love and she is the love. So whatever she does in this world needs to be coherent with that reality, because that's the only truth that she can have in her little mind, that she comes from love and she is the love. So whatever relationship she has in the level of the form, with friends, with toys, with food, with mom, dad, whatever, needs to be coherent with the idea that she is the love. And she has been really behaving accordingly, and her tantrums got like more easy to handle, less. I mean, she spends less time moving from anger to joy or fear to joy, whatever. So it's just that realization that when we have kids and we are scared, we can really teach them from the perspective of understanding that their minds are full, wholly, and complete, and we only need to question them. Give them the tool to make their own mind around those two simple concepts of fear and love, but in the language that they can understand love, because for them it's just fun. It's just fun, it's just joy, it's just tastes good or whatever.
Well,
Yeah,
in,
y'all have put it all together so beautifully
in,
because right after I complained about not being able to get into this um, program, I thought I'd try one more time. And then I looked at the lesson for today. And it says, God is the light in which I see, which is a little bit confusing because what does that mean? In which I see. So then I went back to this thing and it said there was an error code. So I did what Lee told me to do 30 years ago or 20 years ago. Take that number, put it into Google, and find out what they say it is. And it finally said, we don't know, we don't know, we don't know. The fourth one was, you probably, and it was dated this month, it said, get rid of that program and start a new one. What do you call it? Uh, uh, delete it. So I
Delete.
did. It started right up, and I came right out on the screen. And Lee has what he wanted. Now, in addition, and I have what I wanted, which is now I have Zoom working. Whatever was that unknown error, it said, forget it, just get a new one, dump it. Okay, so I did that, and then I'm listening to more and more of what all of you are saying, and you're all saying pretty much the same thing. The more, if we don't have a good program in our head and it's not producing good results, get rid of that mindset and get a new one. What the new one, the old one was something being drummed into Vera's mind over and over and over, and right? Well, in our case, we are taking these lessons and we're repeating them. We are drumming in to our minds a better way, a new light that is more connected with God, more connected with joy and peace. So we are training our mind. And that's what the beginning of the lesson that Lee read right in the beginning. We have to train our mind to see things that we didn't see before. All of this comes together. Me with my computer, you with Vera and Stella, and not Stella,
Jenny.
Janine. Yeah. And it's all good.
And
But
Tom,
these
because
lessons,
Tom's not as well, he was on point, but I just like jump in
yeah.
on his words and say other things.
Well,
So
Tom
sorry.
and even Sean too. I mean, all of us, we're basically saying the same thing. We need to practice these new lessons so that we can drum into our mind a better way of knowing what God is, because we are now in a place where we can know, and that is the light in which we see. So it's kind of cool. Pulls it all together.
Can
in
I
Tom,
add
regards to,
something? Can I add something?
anybody?
go ahead.
Um, the first teacher I heard talk about presence was Eckhart Tolle, and I remember I listened to his teachings a lot, and this idea of no thought, and I got it on a mental, intellectual level, and I would have periods of no thought, but not until very recently. And I'm responding to you, Tom, because you were talking about how many years ago you had, I think, got to this state of peace in your mind. And that's happening, man, like exponentially lately. Exponential peace. um, it's where most of the time my mind is at peace. And when it first started happening, I think my ego was like, what's going on here? What is it? Like, I don't have a voice. Like, you know what I mean? It was like an argument coming, like, well, something must be wrong. It's too quiet. and but and it's a funny thing. And but now I have that experience, and it's just so beautiful. And I get what you're saying, Tom, 100%.
Now, in regards to this hidden agenda, there's the hidden agenda is who is going to determine your identity. Is that going to be society? Is that going to be God? Is that going to be your ego that's arguing for your limitations or arguing out of fear? Or is it going to be the Holy Spirit? And, whenever I was talking about that, what that voice was always doing, it was arguing for its rightness. It was arguing for its justification as to why I was a victim. And that was the ego. And that was the ego's voice. So I could either, and this is what we're trying to recover, this decision maker as to who will we follow? Will we follow the voice of fear, or will we follow the voice for love and forgiveness? And those will take us down two different paths. And we need to be aware that this world is designed to, uh, it's generated by the collective conscious that believes in the separation and the idea of fear, and that's its reality. And we have to decide, is that the route that we want to follow? Or do we want to be aware that this is a fear based world and therefore uh, not expose ourselves to things that uh, put us into fear? We can learn how to handle that. And I don't know, somebody said, there's a thing, whenever you go to a movie, and a scary movie, if you mind the edges, otherwise, if you look and you realize, like uh, Janine was saying with the Netflix, well, this is a movie. This isn't real. This is a projection. If you mind the edges and realize that this world is just a game board for us to overcome our fears and to realize that there's nothing that really we want from this fear-based world in regards to, we want the learning lessons, but we're not of this world. If you mind the edges uh, and realize that this is just a play school, a game board for us to grow and learn, then fear dissipates, because it's not anything that can change your true reality. And, this course, uh, God is the light in which I see, that's your true reality. And uh, it's trying to get you to realize that as opposed to associate with the body. So, to the hidden agenda that the ego has, that the world has, is who is to determine your identity? And this is the question of, the authority problem. And we have to realize that we remain as God created us. God is our source, and that is our identity. And side with the, the Holy Spirit or whatever, and that higher self, and fear will, you know, calm down. It will dissipate. Thank you.
Good segue into, let's turn it back to Lee now so that we can review the actual lesson and bring all of these things to a nice conclusion. I'm really loving this much more than I did when I started, because I was having all that trouble, and now it's so clear. Lee, can you take it?
Yes, I can. God is the light in which I see. Today we're continuing the idea for yesterday, which was God is my source and I cannot see apart from God. We're adding a new dimension. You can't see in darkness and you can't make light. You can make darkness and think you see in the darkness, but light
Mhm.
reflects life and is therefore an aspect of creation. Creation and darkness cannot coexist, but light and life must go together, being but different aspects of creation. In order to see with true vision, you must recognize that light is within, not without. You do not see with true vision outside yourself, nor is the equipment for seeing with true vision outside of you. An essential part of this equipment is the light that makes seeing with true vision possible. This light is with you always, making vision possible in every circumstance. Today we're going to attempt to reach that light inside of you. For this purpose, we'll use a form of the exercise which has been suggested before, and we will utilize it increasingly. It's a particularly difficult form for the undisciplined mind and represents a major goal of mind training. This form of exercise requires precisely what the untrained mind lacks. Yet this training must be accomplished if you are to see with true vision. We've already taken care of one of the 3 practice periods for today a little earlier. These are supposed to last 3 to 5 minutes. Set a reminder for yourself sometime in the middle of the day and sometimes towards the end, where you can sit and close your eyes. A longer time is recommended, but only if you find time slipping by with little or no sense of strain. The form of practice we will use today is the most natural and easy one in the world for the trained mind, just as this form of practice seems to be the most unnatural and difficult for the untrained mind. Your mind is no longer wholly untrained. You are quite ready to learn the form of exercise we'll use today, but you may find that you will encounter strong resistance. The reason for this strong resistance is really simple. While you practice in this way, you leave behind everything you now believe, all the thoughts that you've made up. Properly speaking, this is the release from hell. Yet perceived through the ego's eyes, this is leaving behind everything that you now believe. It's a loss of identity and a descent into hell. If you can stand aside from the ego by ever so little, you'll have no difficulty in recognizing that the ego's opposition and the ego's fears are meaningless. You might find it helpful to remind yourself from time to time that to reach light is to escape darkness. Whatever you may believe to the contrary, God is the light in which you see. You're attempting to reach God. Begin the practice period by repeating today's idea that God is the light in which I see with your eyes open and close them slowly. Repeating the idea, God is the light in which I see, several times more. Then try to sink into your mind, letting go of every kind of interference and intrusion by quietly sinking past these things. Your mind cannot be stopped in this unless you choose to stop your mind. It's merely taking its natural course and reaching for the light. Try to observe your passing thoughts without involvement and slip quietly by those passing thoughts. While no particular approach is advocated for this form of exercise, what is needful is a sense of the importance of what you are doing. This exercises inestimable value to you and an awareness that you are attempting something very holy. Salvation is your happiest accomplishment. Salvation is also the only one that has any meaning, because salvation is the only one that has any real use to you at all. If resistance arises in any form, pause long enough to repeat today's idea that God is the light in which I see, keeping your eyes closed unless you're aware of fear. In that case, you'll probably find it more reassuring to open your eyes briefly. Try, however, to return to the exercises with eyes closed as soon as possible. If you're doing the exercises correctly, you should experience some sense of relaxation and even a feeling that you're approaching, if not actually entering into light. Try to think of light, formless and without limit, as you pass by the thoughts of this world. And do not forget that the thoughts of this world can't hold you in the world unless you give these thoughts the power to do so. Throughout the day, repeat the idea that God is the light in which I see. Repeat it often, with eyes opened or closed, as seems better to you at the time. But do not forget the idea that God is the light in which I see. Above all, be determined not to forget today. We're approaching 8:30 on a Sunday morning. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'm going to go play with my son a little bit. We're going to get ready for the Super Bowl. I hope you guys have a fantastic day doing whatever's on your agendas.
And rest. Today is Sunday. We all need to rest a little bit today.
I wholeheartedly agree. And now that I've looked out the windows and see the amount of snow falling, I think maybe this Prius won't make it to the grocery store, so we might just be relaxing here the whole time. I hope you guys have a wonderful day no matter what.
Thank you. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, everybody. Tom, thank you very much for everything that you shared with
Have a
us.
great day.
Thank
Namaste.
you. Namaste.
Thank you, everyone.
Love you, Janine.
Love
Thank
you
you.
too. Love you, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye, Trish. Have a wonderful day. And Luisa, I hope you find a chocoramo for me. If you're still in the store, in the Colombian store.
Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful day. And let the football play. No, what is Super Bowl? Is it basketball or football? It's basketball or football. What is it? Somebody tell me.
Dad, it's swimming and archery.
Get up. Thank you.
Winter Olympics is going on.
Thank you so
Curling,
much.
skeleton,
Luisa, did you
Bye
find
bye.
chocoramos?
Dad.
No, I didn't see you ask for Socorramo, but I am already at home with a full belly.
I can.
Nice. Fantastic.
I didn't have to know